And welcome back to America's Voice Live. I'm Dave Sussman. It is barely midway through February, and Mike Bloomberg has already spent $400 million, mostly on ads and buying politicians' endorsements. How is that going to impact the Democrat primaries? To discuss this, we're delighted to welcome back Tom Del Beccaro, who is a TV radio analyst. You can find him at Fox News, Fox Business, and Epoch Times, and he is the author of The Divided Era. Welcome back, Tom. How are you?
Hey, great to be on. Michael Bloomberg supporting the economy, but until he has people pushing delegates or primary voters to the polls, he's still in trouble.
Yeah, well, he's coming out at number 2 right now in the Nevada polls. He's not apparently even on the ballot in Nevada. So apparently this $400 million, and he's probably going to spend well over $1 billion by the time this is all said and done. He's got $61 billion in the bank. It won't change his life. It does have an impact on people. Do you think that we're going to be hitting critical mass, or will this continue improving his numbers?
This is a really good question. I've heard from Democrats that they're already tired of hearing his voice because it's so saturated. But at the end of the day, he still doesn't have a ground operation, and that matters. It really matters in Nevada. And it's the reason why Bernie Sanders will chalk up his third straight popular vote lead. And the reason for that is, or victory, is because he's run before, as I talked about in the Epoch Times, he's run before. He has a ground operation. On election day, ground operations matter. In 2003, in the recall election for governor, the year after that, when you had Bill Simon running against Mr. Reardon bought a lot of commercials, Mayor Reardon from LA, but he didn't have a ground operation. Simon didn't buy a lot of commercials, he had a ground operation, and it was Simon that wound up being the Republican nominee. The same thing is happening here. Bernie Sanders doesn't have the majority approval of Democrats, but he has the ground operation that pushed people to the polls. That matters.
Tom, let's talk about the state of the current primary right now. You've got the leftist wing, I would say, of the leftist party today. So we're talking socialism at this point with Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren seems to be fading a little bit. The media seem to want to refer to Buttigieg and Klobuchar as the moderates. And if you take a look at their policies, they are certainly leftists as well. But talk about the push towards leftism in the Democrat Party and whether or not that can find a lane for classic liberals, moderate liberals in the general.
Well, remember that in primary voting, the outsides of the party tend to come, meaning the farther right or the farther left tend to come to the polls with more energy than those in the middle. That's always been true. The left 30% of the Democrat Party is far more organized and fervent than the moderates. And with Bernie Sanders coalescing that group and Elizabeth Warren falling, he has a ready-made nearly 25 to 30% in any given state. And with 7 different people dividing up the Democrat vote right now for the moderates, so-called moderates, and I 100% agree with you, Mayor Pete is being portrayed as a moderate, and he is not a moderate by any stretch. But that's the media portrayal, and if you talk to Democrat voters who otherwise don't know a lot about this, they just buy it, right? CNN says it, and they buy it to a great degree. That leaves Bernie constantly able to finish in the top 1 or 2 in every state, and you might have shifting numbers for those. You had Mayor Pete do well in New Hampshire, you won't do the same in Nevada. So because Bernie's all by himself and the other lane is clogged, as you refer to it, this gives Bernie this edge. And what's really important is California. Bernie has a great operation here. He almost took over the state party in 2016. He is going to win California by so much that he could get a 100 delegate margin on other candidates coming out of Super Tuesday because of the treasure trove. California has 495 delegates, and he's going to get the most of them. So I think by the end of Super Tuesday, Bernie has the most delegates, and there isn't enough delegates after that to keep him from getting the most. I still think we're headed to a brokered convention where they will do everything they can to steal it from Bernie.
So even though Bernie's going to come in with the most, and he has to hit a certain threshold, I think it's 1,100, whatever the delegate number is that he has to hit. If he doesn't hit that, then it can go to the second tier, and that's where the super delegates come in. Are you saying that the super delegates, as part of the DNC apparatus, are still going to try and take Bernie out?
Yeah, they really don't have much choice. They're in the rock and a hard place. And this is the Democrat Civil War, by the way, which will not end in this election. This is going to go on for years and years. Once socialism gets embedded in a party, you see this in the history of the Labour Party in England, it doesn't go away. And there are, quote, moderates who come along all the time to save it, but because of the dynamics, it doesn't go away. They don't want Bernie in this election. They know he'll cost them the House. And so I actually think the Republicans are going to pick up the House this fall if things were the way they are today. The Gallup poll shows that self-identification goes Republican 30, Democrat 27. That's a recipe for picking up the House. They've got to stop Bernie, but the problem is once Bernie, this is his last run, it's not going away in 4 years. Elizabeth Warren will be back, Kamala Harris will be back, and others. And this socialism is so embedded in them, they're going to be fighting this for years, if not decades to come on the Democrat left.
Well, if you're a Republican, you got to be salivating at that prospect, because most people in this country do not want government-run health care and people getting back college loans and everything else along those lines. So let's talk real briefly in our last few minutes here regarding the Republicans, specifically Donald Trump. I think everybody inarguably suggests that his State of the Union speech was just flawless. It was amazing. Democrats supported it as much as Republicans did. But it seems to me that since that State of the Union speech, just less than a couple of weeks ago now, that he has come out and he's making some steps that are raising a lot of eyebrows and anger on the right, including today pardoning Rod Blagojevich, who was trying to sell Obama's seat for the Senate. What is he doing right now?
Okay, well, that's the hardest question I've ever been asked in 20 years of this. But I honestly think he thinks agitating the left and keeping them trailing him an off message for what they want to do is the strategy that he likes to employ. I think he likes to, quote, trigger them. And then now he can say, look, I'm fighting the DOJ swamp as well. So maybe this is the kind of thing he likes to do. I think that he should allow the Democrats to fight over socialism and scare the independents to ensure his victory. But look, he's a 72-year-old contractor from New Jersey, as my friend Sully Sullivan says. So maybe that's his style, and he won't change it.
Do you think he's hurting himself in any way right now? Because he's got the base. It's the moderates that he's trying to gain, correct? Yeah,
look, I think the DOJ is corrupt, but I think there's a better way to fight this. And so, and especially, it's important that the story be about Bloomberg's, not his gaffes, because they're not gaffes. They are his true mindset. And to let them fight over the next 60 days over socialism, let them do that. Because with that, they're going to continue to gain among independents. And right now, the next 60 days, I think he needs to be disciplined.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. In our last 30 seconds here, you're talking about a broker convention. Who do you think comes out of the Democrat primary here?
Well, I think Bernie leads in delegates going into the convention. He probably gets 37 to 40% of the vote on the first ballot, maybe 35%. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden is too tired for this, and Michael Bloomberg will make the case. He'll say, I can self-fund. You put all your money towards saving the House. And so I would say right now, Bloomberg has a leg up on that. But these broker convention's crazy. Who knows?
Tom Del Beccaro, you can find him at politicalvanguard.com, and he is the acclaimed author of The Divided Era. Everybody check him out. Thank you so much, Tom. Greatly appreciate you taking the time. And we'll be back here after the break with a lot more news at America's Voice Live. Don't go anywhere, folks.